All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. And um, if you'd like to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and all.
All right, great. It's good to see a nice audience this evening. If we could have a roll call, please.
We have Chair Matthew Johnston.
Here.
We have Vice Chair Clark Kramer.
Here.
We have Commissioner Gerald Abramson.
Here.
We have Commissioner Steve Tannehill.
Here.
We have Commissioner Richard Wyatt.
Here.
We have Commissioner Mark McCamish,
Present.
Commissioner Douglas Tauber,
Here.
and Commissioner Shane Warburn.
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner John Corno and Commissioner Sean Colvin have been excused tonight, but we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. So just going through the agenda review, are there any modifications or changes to tonight's agenda?
Chair, there are no changes or modifications to the agenda tonight.
Okay. Hearing none, any comments from the advisory, any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, let's go to the approval of minutes for January 7th.
Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that emotion, second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, or is there any comments?
We have no public comments on this item.
No comments, hearing none, then let's roll call for vote.
Okay, we have Chair Johnston,
Approve?
Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tannehill,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish,
Approved.
Commissioner Tauber, Commissioner Warburn.
I also abstain. I was not present.
Okay, and that passes unanimously 6-8.
Great, thank you. If staff, you could do our public comment period reminders.
Okay, to members of the public who wish to address the commission tonight with the live public comments on any agenda items, please visit airports.venturacounty.gov/meeting calendar for participation instruction, streaming links, meeting IDs, and passcodes. In-person speakers will be called upon first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will be called to speak after the agenda item is presented. For in-person public comment, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the secretary before the end of the public comment period. For remote participants via Zoom or telephone, please accept the prompt to be promoted to speaker and unmute your mic when it's your turn to speak. Members of the public are allotted 3 minutes per speaker per listed agenda item at a single meeting, unless the time allotment is increased or decreased by the chair depending on the number of speakers. Please use your time accordingly.
Okay, great. First item we have up is our consent agenda, two items on consent. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I would like to pull the items off consent for discussion.
Okay, both of them?
Both of them, yes, please.
Okay. So,
Thank you. Chair Johnson, the staff requested of consent agenda items can be heard after the last regular agenda item 7E.
okay, so we'll pull them and put them after 7E.
Yes.
Okay. There's no objection to that. We'll do that. All right, so then no actions needed that. We'll hear on those later. Let's go to the regular agenda. And the first item we have is the communications and engagement.
Good evening to you all. I'm Jeanette Haregi, Communications and Engagement Manager and Public Information Officer for the Department of Airports. With so many moving parts happening at all times, we wanted to take a moment this evening to focus on our commitments to our stakeholders, pilots, neighbors, community partners, as we look back on where we started just a few years ago and how we're navigating existing projects and also how we are collectively working toward the future of both Camarillo and Oxnard airports. It was clear in the fall of 2021 that it was time to hit the reset button and begin a new era in community relations. Not just with the pilot community, not just with neighboring residents, and not just with our community partners. The effort had to be fully inclusive of all stakeholders, with an added goal of trying to bridge the gap between all entities. For the airport to succeed, it can no longer be us versus them. Trust had to be built, and then it had and has to be maintained. Airport administration listened, and for Camarillo Airport pivoted from a master plan process to an updated airport layout plan that was designed for full stakeholder engagement, with the underlying focus being on how Camarillo Airport will continue to accommodate its obligations as a former military base turned general aviation airport as required in the 1977 deed documentation. There would be no changes to how it operates and no amendments to the joint powers agreement with the city of Camarillo. Simultaneously, the Department of Airports launched two Part 150 noise compatibility studies, one for Camarillo Airport and one for Oxnard Airport, to address noise impacts on neighboring residents who, quite frankly, felt unheard. All three projects wrapped up in 2025 after more than a dozen total public meetings, not to mention several planning advisory and technical group meetings for each study made up of members representing pilots, community partners, and neighboring community members. Recognizing federal limitations when addressing noise concerns relative to changes in air traffic patterns, the Department of Airports introduced Fly Friendly VC in September 2022 as a voluntary program designed to provide pilot education and guidance to ultimately improve quality of life in the air and on the ground. Initial meetings were scheduled with air traffic control teams at both airports, along with community members and pilots to ensure full buy-in of the program to get it off the ground. Ongoing pilot education, annual pilot fly-in events, and check-ins with the air traffic control teams and neighboring residents have continued as new ideas and improvements to the program are made. The culmination of this work, so far at least, has resulted in changes to monthly noise comments, once hitting a peak of nearly 1,000 in just 1 month for Camarillo and nearly 500 in Oxnard, to a current average of 120 comments per month in Camarillo and 60 per month in Oxnard. On average, a majority of the comments from each airport, approximately 85%, come from 3 households. This doesn't mean that our work is done. It simply means we must continue work toward continued progress. Additionally, the Department of Airports began tracking data related to monthly operations for both airports and nighttime operation data specifically for Camarillo Airport due to increased concerns from the community regarding private jet operations. Data shows that annual operations are down at Camarillo Airport from the data collection start date in January 2022. And while operations are up at Oxnard Airport, the air traffic control team and local pilots in particular have responded accordingly, following fly-friendly VC procedures whenever safely possible to minimize noise impacts. Nighttime operations at Camarillo Airport show a decrease between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. between January 2022, when data collection began, and December 2025. Nighttime arrivals on runway 8 have increased since 2024, when airport staff began meeting with chief pilots who utilize Camarillo Airport, all part of the process improvements made to Fly Friendly VC. Another driving force behind building and improving relationships with our stakeholders has been the development of a marketing and communication strategy that aims to build visibility of both Camarillo and Oxnard airports, educate the public about airport operations, and make the airports more accessible to our neighbors. As part of this effort, the Department of Airports introduced several educational marketing pieces available to the public on everything from basic information related to how to connect with the airports to more topic-specific pieces like flyers related to Area 805 and Fly Friendly VC. The Department of Airports also developed a Spotlight Story project, highlighting 16 stories and counting, focusing on topics covering philanthropic work, stories of historical relevance, and critical resources like medical flights in the Ventura County Aviation Unit. Work to make the airports more accessible to the public also includes the development of an airports tour program that is available for groups of adults and children alike to provide the opportunity to see firsthand how day-to-day operations at the airports work. Most recently, the Department of Airports unveiled a redesigned website to address feedback, both internally and externally, regarding ease of navigation and organization of information. New fly-friendly VC educational materials are being developed and will continue to be, along with continued work on projects like the approach and procedure analysis for Camarillo Airport. Providing community updates via our email or e-blast system has been vital. More than 1,000 people are reached with messages related to Camarillo and Oxnard airports, all made possible from marketing the development of a Join Our Mailing List form on the website. It's been about being fully invested in listening to our neighbors, to pilots, and to our community partners, and about providing a transparent process with a clear and consistent system of communication, one that will never be fully completed, but rather an ongoing project designed with the flexibility to meet the changing needs of not just the airports, but our stakeholders as well. Thank you. And here are just some of our newest communication pieces that have been developed just since January of this year. And we have more to come that I will be sharing in the coming months. But thank you all.
Great. Thank you very much. And I just want to say, especially with this whole audience here, your efforts since the airport's creation of the position has really changed the dynamics of, our outreach and just not only internal, but external awareness. And so kudos to all that you're doing and the airport's support in all these efforts. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's a receive and file. So there's no action to be taken on that. So are there any public comments?
We do not have any public comments for this item.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to the next item, item B. Receive and file information regarding a request for proposal on 11 acres.
Good evening, Chair Johnston, Commission members, Aaron Powers, Deputy Director with the Department of Airports. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to provide information regarding a request for proposal for a development site at Oxnard Airport of approximately 11 acres. Before I go on, do we have this? I can just go ahead and start and then
We'll catch up to you.
indicate when I need to go to the next slide. So we're preparing to issue an RFP. We're preparing to issue a request for proposal on March 20th for an 11-acre site at Oxnard Airport that we have previously received interest in development for. Mostly the interest has been related to solar, battery storage, and parking. This solicitation for the RFP is going to be for non-aviation uses. All right. The site is actually located, I apologize. So Thank you, Keith. So the site is located on the east side of Ventura Road. It is not contiguous with the airfield, so we are not looking to develop it for aviation purposes. The site is located also under the runway protection zone, which is up. Yes, in red, and covers a good portion of the site. And so since the site is situated under the runway protection zone, that means the property is limited to FAA approved uses. Usually this means it can't be occupied. And then additionally, any development would have to comply with height limitations that protect the approach and departure surfaces, otherwise known as Part 77 surfaces. So you can see now the next slide really is just showing you what some of those height limitations are. Starting as low as about 14 feet on the west side and moving upward to 24 feet as you approach the east. We conducted preliminary coordination with the city of Oxnard to make sure that the proposed uses that we had also coordinated with the FAA were compatible with the city's land use and zoning requirements. And so we are just ready to take the next steps, which is following the typical RFP process. That is issuing the request for proposal. We're planning to send that out on March 20th. We'll be using our bonfire platform, which is available for anyone who registers for free to view the documents. We will then receive the proposals 30 days later, and then the department will evaluate those proposals. And then you would next see us when we're bringing a negotiated lease to to the advisory bodies and the Board of Supervisors with the top ranked proposal. I want to emphasize that this is the typical request for proposal process. Keith is going to speak next on the Camarillo development parcels, which is more of an outlier. We do take the RFPs are sort of on a case-by-case basis. Most of them fall into the typical process for whether they're in business park or they are for more common uses for the Camarillo development process because of the potential for relocation of hangars and the level of interest in the type of development. We've followed a more robust process that is not typical. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from board?
This area in particular, I understand you cannot build inside that red zone, correct?
No, we can. It just, they have to be compliant uses that the FAA would allow. So for example, we could do something like solar.
Okay, because I'm seeing a restriction like at the most west end, like 14 feet.
Yes.
Okay, so anything you can be above 14 feet in that area? That
No,
No.
so we would have to do both. It would have to be an FAA compliant use, and then we would have to follow the height limitations. They're factors that layer on top of each other.
what exactly would you have in mind that would fit in with these restrictions?
So solar, vehicle parking. And then we are open to the innovation of ideas. So as long as we can fit those, we can make sure that those uses are compliant with FAA requirements and that we are observant of the height limitations. We could do multiple things, but we are limited. There are limitations on what that can be.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Aaron, this is great to see. And I guess these are the third and fourth parcels we put out to bid in the last couple of years at Oxnard Airport. I'm just curious, do we have other inventory that we can bring to market over time as we try to, improve our financial performance there at Oxnard?
So I'm pausing because we always are looking for opportunities. Oxnard is in particular, half the size in terms of land as Camarillo Airport. So we have even fewer. Camarillo has some limited opportunities and Oxnard has a fewer than that. So really we would be looking at opportunities for redevelopment. We definitely aren't sitting idle. If anything, it might be modifications to existing buildings or trying to find ways to, certainly we are entertaining, we're working with a company that is currently at the airport that needs additional space, but it's not available. And so we are working on a through the fence agreement. So we definitely are looking at other ways to make sure that we are keeping our aging infrastructure fresh, and it's best and highest value.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the advisory? Are there any public comments?
No, for the record, there is no public comment.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And it's a receive and file action, so no action from us. We'll move on to the next item, item C.
Chair and Commissioners, good evening. Keith Fridge, Director of Airports. I want to start by kind of giving some background. We did invite, so this item has to do with the two parcels at Camarillo Airport that we did an RFP for, I think it was the end of December last year. And the history starts all the way back a couple years before that. We had a couple businesses at Camarillo Airport that wanted to expand their business footprint to address some demands that they had at the time. And if you remember, we were in the middle of a process. We were in the middle of a process called an airport layout plan. It kind of is a master plan, vision layout plan for the airport. So we told those two entities at the point we had to freeze them and say, we can't until we're completed that process. Well, we did so, as mentioned earlier, last year. So with that, what the FAA requires that we do is solicit for competitive interest. So those are the RFPs we issued for those two parcels. One was a 1.9 acre and one was a 4.1 acre site. So what I want to do is kind of set the tone of what we're dealing with and looking at. And the first thing I want to start with is kind of the schedule. As Aaron said, we kind of have an accelerated or a shorter schedule unless we see a lot of interest in some projects. So we've kind of expanded this process. So what you see here and tonight is the very first step. And that is kind of bringing the four interested parties to kind of just give a 5-minute, couple slides, 2-3 slides overview of their project. So everybody can kind of see it. Their proposals are in the packets. You can read those. We limit them to 20 pages. That's why they're all 20 pages. That was the limit that they could submit. And then the next process is airport staff will do their evaluation ranking of at least the one parcel that has multiple interested parties in it. And then we would bring back that and kind of present to the AAC authority how we came to those rankings. So, and then we would move forward. Our next step would to work through a lease negotiations. That's usually 3 to 6 months. Ultimately, we would bring back to our Aviation Advisory Commission and the Airport Authority that lease comments, and that's something that ultimately you would vote on before we would typically take that to the Board of Supervisors. So that's kind of what you have laid out here. Again, the negotiation of a lease that can take 3 to 6 months. So that's what I want to start with. That's kind of the process we've laid out for this. You've done that for me. Thank you. I kind of want to set, we've had questions. Hey, and this came up when we did our Part 150 noise study and our ALP update is why do we do anything? Why don't we just freeze it? We like the way the airport is, don't do anything. Well, you've heard us talk about grant assurances. So every time we take federal dollars to maintain these facilities comes a 20-year agreement obligation to maintain, keep this airport open and address demand for aviation. So that's in those, and those are on our website and the documents, library of documents. What the grant assurances are, I won't bore you with them. There's 40 grant assurances. One of those is fair, equitable use of various aeronautical uses. So we can't preclude, you heard us talk when we had the skydiving wanted to happen at Oxnard. We can't, that's an aeronautical use recognized by the FAA. We can't preclude them. We can't preclude jet operations. We can't preclude small aircraft operations. So those are the things in grant assurances. On top of that, Oxnard Airport, Camarillo Airport was the former Air Force, Oxnard Air Force Base. That had a deed restriction. So when it was surplus back in 1976, 77, we signed an agreement and it had obligations that said you will operate this as an airport also, similar to the grant assurances. So it's a double requirement. And there is a small clause, if you want to read through that, it's 90 pages. Most of it, the meat of it is the first 9 or 10 pages or so. There's also a clause in there, if we don't do that, the heavy hand that the federal government has is they can take the airport back. So those are where we start with why we can't just do nothing, why we have to do process. And we look at when somebody says there is interest to meet some demand in aviation, why we have to do something. So as I mentioned, we have a 2011 airport master plan. We recently did a piece of the master plan update, ALP update last year. That kind of does the footprint of future demand, facilities, those kind of things are in that document. Next slide. So what this slide shows, and I thought it was important to bring out, what you see in the the 3 orange parcels are the parcels that were in the RFP. So those kind of outline what is exist in the RFP sites that we're looking at for development. The far left one, bottom orange, is a 1.9 acre site. The orange in the middle is the 4.1 acre site. And then on the other side, again, it was an option if the facilities weren't going to be replaced as small hangars, we had another site for additional small hangars to be relocated. The other important piece on this map is what's left to develop. So the black dots have just 3 of them. The far right black dot is an existing development APL facilities, hangars that have been going on for 20 years. So there's one last couple parcels to develop, and they have focused on small aircraft. You kind of see the numbers next to the various businesses at the airport. Those are the number of based jet aircraft at each of those facilities. So the top one on the legend is 1 aircraft, Channel Islands, on 9.7 acres. And it kind of goes down county hangars, Sky Harbor, 6.9 acres, 10 aircraft, Air 7, 3.8 acres, 11 aircrafts, Fly House, 12 aircraft, and it kind of moves all the way down. So there isn't much left. And I want to point the middle black dot is a facility area that we've identified, that we've already done some design work, and it is more for community use, potentially a new administrative building for the airport. It does things like eVTOL or advanced air mobility opportunities. So we've kind of pre-designed, but we'd expect that at some point in the future. And the last black dot is in the far left, and it is open space, but I want to clarify that site, it was when this was a military base, it is the landfill site for the base. So it is undergone decades worth of Army Corps analysis, and the likelihood of being able to build on it are not very good because it was a former landfill site. So I want to put that in perspective of what's available remaining as we talk through these items. And then we get to the next item. So the question, we've had many stakeholders as we go through this. Again, tonight is really about just hearing the thoughts and proposals from the actual bidders themselves. Happy if you have questions for them. But it's really just to kind of lay that out. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of the airport team to balance all of the various stakeholders and their interests. And they are many. I'll be very clear. We've just listed a few. We have neighbors that don't want any large jets. We have businesses that want as much development as they can, new jobs. We want tenants that want additional services. We've got hangar tenants that are in the area proposed that might be relocated. They don't want to be relocated. We've got neighbors to those proposers that have special events that don't want those special events to be infringed on. I've got a county, we've talked many times in our budget that we're an enterprise fund. The nice thing is we do not ask the county for any general fund revenues. Well, if we don't do the things, you might be surprised to hear that costs continue to go up. So we have to do business things, new development and other things to keep up with those costs. Because the last thing the county administrator wants from us is, hey, we can't balance our books and therefore we need some funding from the county general fund. That's not what they want to hear from us. They want us to be self-sufficient as we are currently. So those are all, these are just a list of some of the, and those are the things we captured in our rankings. When we put out the RFP, we put a listing of what we would evaluate in their proposals. So these are just a list of some of those things. Aging infrastructure. You've heard us talk about, the hangars that are being looking potentially either refurbished or renovated or replaced. There's about 49 of them there. We've got 15 or so that we can't even rent out because they're in such poor shape. They're 40 years old. So it's all of these things that we will evaluate, ultimately coming out with a ranking. And back to the timing. So again, tonight is really just hearing, you've seen the proposals, they are in the packets. You're going to hear from each of the four folks that want to do something here at the airport. They're happy to answer questions and we can do so as well. Well, that's kind of the background, starting point. Happy to answer questions. Before I kick it off to the first, which I think we're going alphabetical order. So it'll be, I think we're going to go to Air 7 first. Any questions I can answer before we start that? This is it. Not gonna hear from me. All right.
Oh, there'll be time after.
Okay, cool. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys, members of the commission, for coming out here tonight. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Matt McKee, and I'm the general manager at Air 7. I've worked at this airport for more than 17 years. And sorry, if I get emotional, it's because it's a long time coming. We'd like to show you guys tonight is pictures of our ramp area, our hangars, and a taxiway that we sometimes borrow from the airport. It would be an understatement to say that Air 7 is the smallest leasehold and the busiest FBO on this field. Our customers know this. We routinely run out of space. When they fly into the airport, they make their plans around that. They know that we don't have long-term parking. So we get customers that fly in, drop off owners, drop off executives. They leave, they come back 2 weeks later. This causes an in and out, which causes a significant burden for the homeowners in our neighborhoods. If you look at our hangars behind me on the screen, you can imagine that taking an airplane outside of one of those would take 4 or 5 hours when the ramp looks like that. Not only that, we can't continue to do our operations on our leasehold. We regularly have to borrow ramp space from the adjacent facility that's to the right of us, and we have to borrow taxiway space from the airport on an almost daily basis in order to continue our operations. What might be a shock to all of you, and I don't think anyone here even knows, in order to continue to conduct operations, when our ramp is full, and we need to take a plane out of the back of the hangar, and let's say it's 8 o'clock at night. My guys, myself included, come in at 1 or 2 in the morning, and we pull out 6 or 7 planes and we put them on Foxtrot and Alpha for 2 to 3 hours on the taxiway in complete darkness, moving airplanes just so we can accommodate the next day's departures. And again, sorry if I'm emotional. That said, we believe we have a solution for everyone, not just Air 7. We have a solution for the homeowner that wants less ferry flights back and forth to the airport. We want a solution for the guy who wants a new T hangar that can't get one right now at the airfield because they're too expensive or they don't exist. We have a solution for the guy with a King Air who flies into the airport and has a mechanical, and there is no way for them to get maintenance at Camarillo. Next slide. Air 7's solution to this is an MRO facility. Not only do we believe this is the highest and best use for this facility or this type of environment next to us for the land, it would provide additional overflow parking and storage capacity for planes that are routinely flying into the airport that we see on a weekly basis that leave and fly in and out. This would be a facility that had the capabilities of working on not only piston airplanes and turboprop airplanes, but jet airplanes. Currently, as it stands, no facility on the airfield can accommodate all of these MRO requirements. And we're seeing significant increased traffic over our homes and neighborhoods because these planes are leaving on a routine basis. We have planes in our own fleet, our managed customers, people that are in our hangar. They leave all the time to Van Nuys. I can't even tell you how many times a week I get a guy in a Hawker or a King Air comes in, they have a mechanical. Hey, can you do this, this, this? I don't have ramp space. I don't have hangar space. I'm sorry. They get a ferry permit and they move that plane to Van Nuys. We could keep all of that tax revenue in Ventura County. Not only that, we could hire 50 to possibly even more aviation mechanics. And this is not hypothetical business. This is business that's already here. They're already using our airport. They're already using our airspace. That said, we're not looking to increase the traffic to the airport. Our proposal is to reduce the net traffic, to reduce the noise, and offer maintenance for everybody. Next slide. This will have a net benefit to the community. We will have a $43.3 million of overall investment into this proposed facility and the T hangars on the east end of the airfield next to Sky Harbor. Those hangars we're proposing to be at $750 a month and the box hangars at $3,800 a month. And lastly, I want to talk to you guys about the Fly Friendly PC program. And this one hits me the hardest because I genuinely care. I've been here for 17 years. And you can ask Jeanette, and I ask you, I implore you to do that tonight. I take every single inquiry about noise complaints that the airport sends our way, even though they're not our airplanes. We already require everybody who uses our facility and operates out of it to abide by the Fly Friendly VC program when operationally safe to do so. In addition to that, we would like to offer the community a chance to do engagement with us. In the event that the airport's okay with it, we would like to either attend an open house with all the FBOs or host one ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up is Legend Hangars Aviation LLC, Rick.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Richard Conrad, a project owner and developer with Legend Aviation. Before any consideration is given to the merits of my presentation, know that I made a regrettable mistake of putting Air 7's logo on my original plans. It was to show cooperation with a next door neighbor should Legend win the bid. I want to clarify, there is no formal accommodation, partnership, or involvement between Legend Aviation and Air 7 with respect to this proposal. I sincerely apologize for the interference and for the confusion. That said, I'm a general aviation pilot based in Oxnard for over 20 years. My flying partner and I exhibit 2 biplanes at the annual air show, the 1929 D4D Travelers. I've spent a fair amount of time at this field. What we're proposing is a fully funded private modernization of hangars at Camarillo Airport with a focus on small to mid-size airplanes flown by local owners. The important part of this proposal is how it's phased. Phase 1 happens on the 5-acre parcel shown in blue, where we construct new hangars there first. Worth noting, the original plans call for nested T hangars in the 3rd row, just to the right. But we have flexibility to do box hangars or Ts, depending on the demand. Once that array is complete and operational, decommissioning will begin on the obsolete hangars and shown in yellow. This limits disruption for the tenants and will allow Legend to modernize airport infrastructure off the county's dime. Let's go to the next slide. Phase 1 is designed for aircraft that are based here at Camarillo. Anyone who spends time on this field knows that most of these single or light twin engine piston aircraft are, we need to address those needs. The first priority for these units will be tenants displaced by the redevelopment of the older hangars. After that, units will be made available in current order to the county's existing wait list. And finally, leases will go to the broader aviation community consistent with FAA access requirements. Most important, this project replaces aging hangars within the airport's current footprint. We do not extend the runways, expand taxiways, or impact flight paths. Next slide. Phase 2 consolidates Stellar Avion's FAA certified repair station, and we accommodate remaining pilots on the wait list and address overflow traffic during the holidays and seasonal upticks. Stellar will continue to support aircraft maintenance, skilled Part 145 job training, and local workforce development. These are lifelong aviation facilities. Legend will carry the financing and development risk. We are a local effort that can modernize the airport infrastructure based on reasonable lease rates. We do not have shareholders to answer to. Our business model is actually based on storage units, meaning that we are not a commercial real estate asset that's meant to be flipped. In closing, construction on the project is expected to generate 110 to 135 union positions, union trade positions, with additional opportunities for 10 to 15 local independent contractors working on interior tenant improvements. At peak construction, the project is expected to employ 60 to 85 skilled workers on site with an economic impact multiplier of 80 million to 120 million in regional economic activity. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so next up we have Sky Harbor. Is that Paul or Nick or the whole group? Everyone. All right, we got a group of them. Whole gag of them. All right.
Mission members, good to see you all for the first time. For me, I'm Marty Kretschmann. I'm Senior Vice President of Airports for Sky Harbor Group. I'm joined by Tal Keenan, who you'll hear from at the end. He's our founder and CEO. And then Nick Martino, I think you all know, he grew up on this airport. So our strategy for this development for these two parcels focuses on a repair in place strategy. What we're looking for is continuity for the existing light GA community, and particularly around the traffic flows throughout and then after the development, protecting something that's working well at this airport today. It's also about efficiency for those operators, temporary moves only. They'll return to their repaired spaces. And then third, it's modernization. It's supporting affordable, sustainable investment that benefits the entire airport, including the light GA community, as well as the community at large. Next slide, please. So in a little more detail, it's about preserving that existing light GA activity where it exists today, which is working well, but clearly needs some redevelopment, hence the RFP. And then the plan to use the 5.1 acre parcel adjacent to the existing Sky Harbor operation on the north side of the airfield to support existing operator needs as they grow here at Camarillo. For the existing hangars, it's modernizing in place while protecting affordability, hence the repair strategy. It maintains their proximity to the runway and to taxiway Alpha, as well as the vehicle access that exists today. And it preserves these existing aircraft and vehicle patterns that have existed safely here for many, many years. And then on the development on the north side, the new hangars, it provides interim capacity as needed. So if there is any displacement, even though the T hangars aren't fully occupied today, we think we can accommodate the repair in place while keeping people within the footprint. We have the ability to develop and move aircraft there temporarily as needed, as works with the operators there. It also provides space at the Camarillo Airport for Sky Harbor's model, which is the home-based operator. That's our core model that we build and operate all around the country. It's distinct from FBOs in that we base aircraft. We are focused on a non-transient model around the country. Here at Camarillo, we have the FBO operation as well, but our core investment here has been around the HBO, which bases aircraft here in Ventura County. And last but not least, it provides some opportunity for emerging aeronautical tech partners. I won't name any of them, but there's some we've spoken to here that have a lot of interest in continuing their growth here in Ventura County. This provides a pathway for them to do that with us. So.
Thank you, Marty. Good to be with you, commissioners. I'll just add to that. We hope you find our proposal compelling on its own merits. We're trying to balance the existing needs on the airport, things like traffic and safety, with the expressed desires of the existing residents on the airport, which is minimal disruption and move straight on with business. For those who don't know us very well, I just want to highlight a couple things. We're a public company. We're regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission and by the FAA and by a lot of other bodies, which I think provides a lot of transparency to whoever is looking to partner with us. We've been on this airport in a different form for a very long time, so there's also local familiarity and a local commitment. And then lastly, our sources of funding are also very transparent. It's not that we will secure the funding, it's that we have the funding to pursue this project, and that's all available online. So thank you for your consideration. It's good to be with you tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, commissioners. So that was it for the three interested in the larger 4.1 acre site. And then we had one bidder for the remaining the smaller site, 1.9 acres. And I think we had Orbic Helicopters that was going to do a presentation if they're here. Yes, they are.
Good evening. Chair Johnston, Vice Chair Kramer, and commission members. I'm William Schultz, co-manager of Orbic Sky. Orbic Sky has a proposal in here that I think is adequately described in the RFP, the response to the RFP that we've submitted. I'm here to answer questions. I have with me tonight our design engineer, Jane Lewis Montague. I have online our environmental engineer, Judy Kraus, both of whom I think are well known around the airport. But our development is proposed to not increase jet traffic. There's no jets involved, and to not increase noise at all. In fact, it's just a relocation of two existing businesses. Now, the Orbic companies have been run by Ken Obi, who unfortunately couldn't join me tonight. He's in Japan. He had a death in the family. He can't be here. And Stephen Cranswick, who runs, is the operator for Seaview Aviation. He couldn't be here either. He's in Texas. He had a commitment at local conference. So he couldn't change his conference. So I'm here. Now, we're talking about location 2. It's a different location from the last locations we just went over. Location 2 is presently unimproved. And our proposal, do we have slides up? Our proposal is 2 hangars for the existing businesses, one which is Seaview Aviation, one which is Orbic. Orbic Aviation is both a maintenance facility and a flight school. Charter, Part 135, certified air agency for the repair facility. It will just relocate and use the old existing Orbic lease, which is 777 Aviation Drive, sort of on the west end of the airport, as a showroom. That will leave a little extra space, not a lot, but some extra spaces for transient traffic or people that want to park overnight. Our present plan involves, if you read through the response to the request for proposal, you'll see that we're estimating, and it's kind of early in the estimating process, somewhere between $4 and $7 million for one hangar that's 15,000 feet, 3,000 feet of office. Second hangar that's 11,000 feet with 2,000 feet of office space. It also involves relocating the gate, and I've talked to everybody in the loop about this, but relocating the gate for the control tower. And that would move to the east of our project. Well, we would relocate the gate anywhere we're asked. It's not a problem. And the existing gate, which is in the middle of this proposed area, would go with the old lease and the new lease, which are adjoining. They're coterminous properties. And so we've combined the old Orbic lease and the new proposed lease as one new lease. There's benefits to our local community without any noise impact, without any jet impact. Orbic, of course, does flight training. If Ken was here, he would tell you that he's strict compliance with the Fly Friendly program for 20 years. He's been on the airport for 20 years. Orbic companies have. Seaview, 5 years. Seaview, of course, does they renovate and repair Black Hawk helicopters. They reconfigure Black Hawk helicopters for firefighting, for medevac, for search and rescue. In fact, Seaview itself operates 8 Firehawks, they call it, which are Black Hawk helicopters. In one of our slides for fighting fires, they were principal fighting the fires in Pacific Palisades. It's pretty important stuff. I'm here to answer questions if anybody has any, or the public has any questions. The details are in our proposal. I trust you've all read through that, and I don't need to repeat. Can I answer any questions?
Yeah, so I think if it's okay, Keith, I mean, is that the last presentation? Because I think it would be good to maybe ask questions of this, and then we'll open up to the advisory and we can go back to the 3. I wanted to allow the 3 to kind of present. We can go back and kind of open that up. So are there any questions on this RFP?
I have one, the landing zones on that you show on the base. I know the place is not, it hasn't been usable, so it's an open area. But I worry about the fuel tanks and the fuel dispensary on the east side of the property there. And I just wanted to make sure that somebody was looking at that to make sure it didn't, our recommendations and requirements of having helicopter taking off close to that area.
I don't know anything specific about fuel tanks. We haven't brought the engineering that far along. But we'll certainly comply with all codes and regulations and whatever is required there. For the landing zones are not changing. There's 2 landing zones presently for Orbic's location, which is coterminous. It's a adjoining property. We'll use the same 2 landing zones with the new development. So the landing zones are not changing, and I
They showed more landing zones.
Pardon me?
They show more landing zones.
Yes, it would be more.
Yes.
It's presently unimproved land to the east side of Orbic's existing leasehold. But I don't know anything about your question on the fuel tanks. But the landing zones are not going to change, if that's any help.
I just like to check into that about, recommendations for making it through that fuel place, the fuel dump.
Well, I think it's a reminder
Thank
to
you.
everyone that, these are the RFPs. They haven't necessarily been selected yet. They're just under review and presentation. So obviously through the process, there'll be opportunities to get more specific and details. I think we're at some concept phases with some, hard facts about what they're proposing to do. So that said,
Chair, if I could offer probably to streamline the process, you might want to call for public comment first, so digest that, get through that. And then if there's specific questions, and you are 100% correct, you can ask specific questions, but quite frankly, we are ultimately going to rank individuals that might be the one you want to ask questions when we get to that specific detail.
Right.
After
And,
we've gone through the ranking and here's our top candidate.
and that's how I think it's being presented, and that, you know, tonight's an introduction to all of the proposals that the airport's received, and we can kind of go from there. I like that recommendation. If there's no objection to that, we have seven cards of speakers. So a reminder to the public that it's 3 minutes. There's a timer that's up there. It's your 3 minutes. It's not if you are doing your 3 minutes to then continue somebody else's 3 minutes. That's not allowed. So you have to be the speaker. So we'll start off with Lauren De La Torre.
Lauren, your time will begin when you start speaking.
Thank you. Hello, I am Lauren De La Torre, and good evening. I am a 38-year resident of Old Town Camarillo and a retired teacher in the Pleasant Valley School District. Just a few words that I want to ask the AAC, which is what you are, tomorrow the CAA, and then the Board of Supervisors, to open their minds and remember the Camarillo community of residents who live under the flight path of Camarillo Airport. We don't want any community hangars. We want private hangars, and enjoy the charm of Camarillo GA small planes flying over our town. We don't appreciate, want, or seek to have more planes using community hangars. Please think hard and remember who you represent. You represent the residents of Ventura County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next up, we have Kristen Kessler.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen. I volunteer at the Camarillo Animal Shelter. I've been volunteering there for 5 years. It's already a very noisy place with a lot of stressed animals. And I would just ask that you consider the fact that the shelter is right next to the airport as you consider these proposals. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The next is William Schultz. And following William. Got it. Oh, you were a presentation. That's right. Renee Brum.
Thank you, Renee. Your time will begin when you start speaking.
Hi, I'm Renee Brum. First off, I apologize. I am not a public speaker. I hate standing in front of people and having them look at me when I talk. But I just want to let you know that born and raised Camarillo. The airport's been in my family forever. My dad was a jet fighter pilot, came out of the service, moved to Camarillo, got a hangar at Camarillo. Been there forever. He since passed 5 years ago, and we moved into the hangar. I am now a pilot of 5 years. My husband's been a pilot since 1970. We would like to stay in our hangar for more than that reason. People say, oh, you must be rich. You have an airplane. You all know the saying, right? You say, no, I'm not rich because I have an airplane. We don't have the funds to move to bigger, better, larger facilities. We are scraping enough funds right now just to paint the airplane. If any of you have ever seen an airplane, you will understand that. I just want to let the board know that we'd like to stay where we are and keep the cost as minimal as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark Malone.
Thank you, Mark. Your time will begin when you start speaking.
Good Hello, Commission members, Director Keith, Jeanette, airport staff. I'm Mark Malone, a midfield hangar tenant for 42 years. The repair proposal by Sky Harbor returns the midfield hangars to good working order. This is the only proposal that would keep rates affordable, avoiding new construction. Sky Harbor's current 4 hangars only house 9 jets. These are private hangars. A single tenant leases each hangar, and when their airplane is away, the hangar is empty. The RFP project description on page 1 says, replace, in addition to any new facility at the site, developers shall replace the hangars in similar, equal size and number. RFP Exhibit 1. Air 7's plan on page 2 shows building 46 T hangars and 0 40 by 50 hangars. Air 7, Exhibit 2. Instead, they will build 16 60 by 60 jet hangars. Why? Air 7's proposal on page 11 states that tenant demand is the reason for jet sizing the hangars. What tenants? The RFP mandates, it does not suggest replacing 7 40 by 50 hangars. Air 7 supersizing results in triple pricing, and this is simply a public eviction notice for us. Air 7's own rendering shows 17 new jets, 13 inside, and 4 parked outside. Air 7 Exhibit 3. This is a community hangar concept, housing as many jets as possible with the overflow parked outside. Building 62 hangars in the northeast corner requires every vehicle to drive on and cross 3 taxiways that are uncontrolled by the tower. The Sky Harbor proposal keeps the cars off the airport grounds, while Air 7 will have 62 tenants driving on these taxiways. Colson has access to the fire department gate on Las Posas. That would help. Camarillo is a single runway training airport for student pilots with a training tower. The airspace is complicated by close proximity to Point Mugu and Oxnard. There is no alternative approach path for airplanes landing to the west, so jets will continue to fly over O-Town. The question is, how many more? Airplanes must take off and land into the wind, and the prevailing wind is from the west. The RFP language on the first page is meant to protect current tenants by requiring 42 hangars and 7 40 by 50 box hangars. Sky Harbor and Legend are the only 2 that comply. The number 2 objective is to minimize noise. Sky Harbor's proposal has the least new jets and the least noise. Air 7 simply prices most of us out of aviation, replace what will certainly be a dramatic increase in jet traffic and noise. Sky Harbor's repair proposal is clearly the best option for the local pilots and the best option for anyone concerned by noise. Air 7's design is a jet magnet. It does not meet the basic RFP requirements and should be disqualified. Sorry, fellas.
You could
This
start
decision you
wrapping
make
up.
is permanent and irrevocable. Local pilots and residents could sure use your help now. We're just trying to survive the temptation of the jets. Reasonable terms is what we want, and not discriminated by jets that just pay more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Chris Darden.
What's his name? Your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Thank you for the opportunity of speaking this evening. I'm Chris Darden. I'm the EAA current president. In reviewing the 3 proposals for the area, 2 of the proposals significantly impact, we believe, our operations. One, it creates a closed-end area for the aircraft near the EAA hangar, which creates a problem for us in terms of our youth program activities as a 501c. So when you look at that, it narrows that area down to about around 60 feet in one proposal. I'm not quite sure with the other, but that's insufficient area for us to operate our Young Eagles program in a safe manner, particularly around jet aircraft, which create additional issues in terms of noise issues for us. But that is one of our primary impacts. We don't believe we can operate our Young Eagles program safely with that kind of area, with young, relatively young kids, right, try to manage that activity, but that we believe is too narrow of an operation. With the loss of the area of the hangars where we can now loop around and safely shut down the aircraft in those areas and move the kids across. We believe that's the two of the proposals are just not the benefit of the community from those terms. In addition, there's an economic impact to EAA with that narrowing of that taxiway into our area. We eliminate several lease parking spots that we have, so that impacts our income, which we use to support our community activities. Any questions for me in terms of? Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Appleford.
Robert, your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Good evening, council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Appleford. I'm the vice president of the EA local, and just wanted to bring up a couple quick points as well. Expanding also on Chris's things regarding EA operations for Young Eagle program. We also feel that taxiways would possibly be jeopardized with our operations coming and going out of this facility as well. As again, Chris was trying to explain, the Young Eagles is the most important one, but we do have a lot of other youth aviation programs that actually cover all these same aspects that were already brought up. I've been reviewing most of the proposals here too with regards to these two properties. And I've talked to a lot of folks in the past here looking at these proposals. I wasn't even aware of one of them until more recently. And I feel that the Sky Harbor proposal is actually going to be better for us, benefiting again all the aircraft that do have to come in and unload. I also want to point out that the traffic over there on the east side, I've been involved in a number of incidents over there on close calls that I think also putting the hangars over there on that side wouldn't benefit the airport. We have a lot of neighbors and friends over by the EA. We just don't seem to think that that's actually going to work as well, trying to cram down the size there for our approach there. A lot more to go over, a lot to digest. I'm definitely open to any other suggestions. Any of the proposals could bring, if there's another way of correcting all these issues, we'd be open for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Nicole.
Wendy, your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Good evening, commissioners. I'll try to use my time wisely. I have 3 asks. I'm a resident of Camarillo. I'm not a pilot. I just live here. I grew up here. And I have 3 asks. One is to repair the T hangars. It sounds like they are used by a lot of people that can't afford a bigger hangar. The second is to install noise monitors throughout the city before any more jet development happens. And the third is to conduct a neutral third-party audit of the airport budget and the RFP proposals that we've seen, along with checking backgrounds of each of the respective companies. The first on repairing the T hangars. On Sky Harbor's proposal, they have 2.4 million. That sounds pretty reasonable. And it sounds like they could keep the hangar space affordable for our local pilot. That sounds like a good option. As far as noise monitoring goes, I think it would be helpful if we could measure the noise impacts to follow the JPA. And those noise monitors would be everywhere throughout the city, including Mission Oaks, the Estates, Camarillo Heights, Camarillo Springs, Village at the Park, Central Camarillo, Old Town, and Springville, because everyone in the community is impacted by the increased jet activity we've observed. Once that noise is measured and we have data, then a noise mitigation plan could be created. And the reason this is needed is, at its heart, fly friendly is voluntary, and it's not enforceable. The third ask was this neutral third-party audit of the airport budget and the proposals. And the reason is this: the package shows an operating loss for the airport in 2025, which was a surprise to me because in 2023 and in 2024, Camrio showed a gain. So where is the loss coming from? That should be studied. Could that loss be offset by changes to landing fees, changes to fuel flowage fees, ground lease fees, and other revenue sources? I also asked that further study be done in those areas and that the RFP scoring is made public and the lease terms as well before any decisions are made. In conclusion, the airport, it would be appreciated if it can put the community needs first. In each of these proposals, we heard business needs, and we didn't hear anything offered for the community. And I think that is a vital part of what this airport serves. We have people that learn here. We have people that have schools here, and we have people that have families here. And right now, we're using this space for business gain, and that doesn't seem right. When we bring in these larger aircraft, we increase our safety, and we should be stewards of safety. And I believe we need to support the diverse tenants that we do have here and keep it local and reduce the flips. In all of the proposals you've seen from Air 7 and Sky Harbor, as great of businesses they might be, pardon, I will wrap. There has been a lot of turnover in 5 years, and that should be studied. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think it's great that we've had this much public comment, and I appreciate all the comments, and so we'll open it up to the board for any questions or comments that you have.
I just want to add that I appreciate all the presentations tonight and the inputs that will be reviewed. I will review thoroughly. Thank you.
And my comment is it's great to have the various proposals. I think it gives us a broad distribution to select from and evaluate. Keith, I did have one quick question, and that is, of the responses to the RFPs, we have Orbic that uses one area. Several of the others use the primary two areas. Would any of the RFPs, or which ones of the responses would exclude Orbic? Is it possible to do one of these with Orbic as well, or are they kind of precluding each other?
So the way it was structured is we had two separate RFPs, and one was for the 1.9 acre, and the only one that bid on the 1.9 acre was Orbit.
Got it. Thank you.
So that's separate.
I did have a question, and it was about, so kind of twofold on the current condition of the hangars. So in my mind, it's kind of two different problem sets. We have 42 T hangars and we have 7 hangars that are on the back wall or back fence of the airport. Of the 42 T hangars, it seems like that they are continuing. I was talking to a couple of hangar renters, and I think that they are continuing to degrade. And I think how many of the T hangars now are? I think before it was like 12.
Yeah,
that were
last
unoccupiable.
count we're at 15.7. It's somewhere between 15 and 17 that we cannot rent out because they are past repair.
Right. Okay. So that, I mean, unfortunately, that number is going to continue to grow. Even since we've been talking about this, I think that I know 2 people that have had hangars that are now.
Correct. And to be clear, not all of them are in the same conditions. We have a row of the larger hangars on the backside and the south side of that parcel are in, I'll say, much better condition, no question about it. They're still, 30 plus years, but because of the rain and flows, it's those hangars, the smaller hangars that are in the middle, the 42, that have degraded much faster.
Right. I did want to make that point, which is the
Yes.
7 hangars that are on the back do require less. I mean, just looking at the 2, going through them, that they would require less repair. And my question would be for Sky Harbor, what is if they had a chance to review the hangars, or if it was just kind of based off the RFP, or do you have a chance to kind of delineate between those 2? So those repair numbers, is that with the understanding that the 7 hangars on the back would require less repair than the T hangars, which are more modular.
Please come up to the
Nick,
mic so that
okay.
they can hear you online. Get you on the mic, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We did get a chance to look at a few of those T hangers and a couple of the box hangers as well. We would agree that the 7 box hangers along the south side don't need as much. But to answer your question, our ROM that we had done the proposal is based on the worst case scenario in which we would have to actually replace all of them in place. So that's worst case scenario. We actually think once we get in there, we'll get a better idea.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you for the clarity.
I have a couple of questions for Matt from Air 7. So in the proposal, $43 million, $43.3 million. You guys say that you're not going to need a loan, and much of this is going to be provided by strategic partners.
That's an LLC for our partners. Or
Who-
not an LLC for our partners. It's for investment company that owns Air 7.
Okay, understood. At first glance, not to be offensive or anything,
I totally get it.
kind of seems like a shell company.
It's not.
All right.
Okay.
Now, with your proposal for the T hangars,
Yes.
the existing tenants, are
They
they?
would be replaced. So we would build the new facility first and then move them to that facility before any work got started on the MRO.
Now, it seems like much of the concern has to do with what your proposal is going to mean as far as price hikes for the current general aviation population existing at Camarillo.
Correct. I do hear what everyone's saying here in the audience. Those are the realities of what it costs to build today. I think specifically, if you look at Sky Harbor's proposal, their cost breakdown, I believe it was 54 cents a square foot. I think that works out to about $670 a month for a T hanger, right? Our brand new replacement T hanger is $750. It's a 50-year T hanger. It's not a Band-Aid. It's a fix. It's something that, we looked at doing this years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. We approached the airport. We looked into it. If we had done it when we wanted to do it, we wouldn't be talking about this price increase right now, right? The longer we wait, I can't imagine what that development's going to cost in 2 years from now, right? Because before they build those T hangars, if they were to do the replacement plan, they would need to build another large set of hangars, like 2 25,000 square foot hangars on the east end of the airfield to move those tenants into. Yeah.
Final question. Sorry,
Yeah.
gentlemen. Now, your proposal, have you done any evaluation on what that would mean as far as increased vehicle traffic across the taxiways over there?
On the east end,
Yes.
we've looked at it, but we don't believe that it's going to generate a significant amount of increase. These hangar tenants that are in these hangars, they're typically flying a couple times a month at most, right? We're adding 46 of them. Our plan for the East End development is with the ALP study. Like, that place is already designated as small aircraft hangars.
All right.
Or what do you call it? The airport layout plan.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments from the advisory?
I do have one other question for Air 7, and I'm just looking at the footprint on it here. It looks like the parking lot would go across the whole, kind of the fence line there.
So I included in my PowerPoint presentation slides that showed it without that.
Okay.
The way the RFP was written, it basically assumed that we were going to pay for that leasehold. And to the EA's point, we don't want to encumber upon their operations. The taxiway that's being proposed to put in is 72 feet plus an additional like 30 feet. They nearly have 100 feet from their door, more than 3 times the width of the 172.
Okay, yeah, because looking at it, it was, the line goes through the hangar. So I just want to make sure.
And it
in the RFP.
yeah, but if you'll look through my presentation slides, I included a diagram just so you guys can see.
Okay.
I think through several of the comments, it raises a lot of points in terms of the importance, I think, for staff and consideration to really look at the math at all these, the impacts, right? If we come out of the gate with a certain expectation and then costs go beyond what they are, right? It could far exceed what the RFP presented and, get support with. So I think it's very important that staff does, some good accounting, review of all of these proposals for realistic expenses for all the different things proposed. Any other comments?
And for the record, there are no online public comments.
My next question. Thank you very much. So if there's no other comments, this is a receive and file. I do want to just thank everybody for showing up on this specific agenda item. And I want to thank the presenters for taking the time to kind of go over the RFPs with us so the public can hear it. And it's a nice, transparent process for all of us. And I hope you continue to show up to the meetings and provide comments. So I just want to say thanks to everyone for that. So with that, we'll move on to item D. And
Okay. Maybe give them a second to. Good evening, commissioners. Nice to meet you. My name is Danielle Tarr, and I recently joined the Department of Airports. I am the Projects and Program Manager. So for tonight's item, it is a receive and file. It's an update for the Camarillo runway rehabilitation project, which has been one of my primary focus areas during my first few months here and will continue to be. Staff has been advancing the design for the project and evaluating how construction should be approached. And as part of that process, 4 primary construction phasing approaches were evaluated. Each option was reviewed for FAA compliance, construction safety, operational feasibility, pavement durability, overall construction duration, and cost. Some of the options considered included doing nighttime construction only, maybe a phased closure, or maybe maintaining limited runway access during construction. The slide shown here compares the 2 most feasible approaches that were evaluated. The option shown at the top represents completing the work through nighttime closures while reopening the runway during the day. That approach is operationally possible, but it also results in a large number of transverse pavement joints across the runway that you can see. Those are the white lines over the red. From a pavement performance standpoint, those joints are long-term wear points. And the more joints that you have, the more opportunities there are for pavement deterioration and future maintenance needs. So the option shown on the bottom represents the recommended approach. This is a full runway closure for approximately 20 days. This approach allows the contractor to complete paving continuously. And as you can see, it significantly reduces the number of joints and results in a much higher quality and longer lasting runway. Following the primary paving work on that recommendation, additional nighttime work and closures would be used to complete the grooving and the painting and the final striping. Because a runway closure it has operational impacts for all the airport users, staff coordinated with a group of stakeholders once the design reached a point where input was needed before moving forward with one approach. So on January 26th, staff hosted a virtual stakeholder meeting with the fixed base operators, some of the flight schools, some of the maintenance providers, and other airport users. And during that meeting, we walked them through in detail all of the construction phasing alternatives that were evaluated and presented this recommended approach. The discussion was very constructive and no opposition to the recommendation alternative was expressed during the meeting or since then. Construction is not expected to begin on this project until early 2027. So we are currently developing the plans into a full bid package. We plan to go out to bid in May, and then we will award the contract and start construction sometime early in 2027. So with that, staff and myself, we will continue to keep your commission informed of the project and as it moves forward through final design and into construction planning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Great. Well, first, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team. And are there any questions?
I have a kind of a comment, more on that. I'm glad that everything stakeholder wise is going well. Obviously, that'll be a pretty significant impact to the airfield, having the one runway go down, or two runways go down at the same time. But the other thing that that was on there that I wanted to highlight was the 30% savings on doing it that way as well. So that was 18 versus 24 million, I think, for doing it at night. So again, that's, you know, fiscally, that makes a lot more sense from the standpoint of the cost to the airport too. So I just want to highlight that. But I know that there's some pain with closing the airfield, but that's a significant cost savings to the county.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to speak to one thing. Danielle has really been doing a great job coming in and taking over this project and moving forward. I do want to remind your commission and something that we also discussed with the stakeholders is that we actually had for a long time, our engineers, based on the data that we had, were saying full reconstruction, not rehabilitation. And we were looking at a 3 to 4 month complete closure. So if we talk about pain, absolutely. Every day that we close a runway impacts tenants and jobs and operations. So, you know, for the options that we've been working, we did extensive geotechnical data to refine our designs to see if there was any method that we could bring forward for rehabilitation. And fortunately, we were able to find a way forward. So rehab is what we're doing. The 20 days and 12 nights is for the runway portion. There may be some other adjustments to additional night work, and we're working on certainly how we can go forward, but it's a cost savings for sure. The reconstruction was estimated to be $44 million. And so by being able to go to a rehabilitation, not only are we cutting down schedule, we're drastically bringing in, reducing the cost of the project. And so Danielle's been doing a great job.
Great. When work was done in Oxnard, I know we encountered capacity issues, right? And we've got the Oxnard Camarillo relationship, and it was a lot because of the traffic at Oxnard is not the same as Camarillo. It was easy to accommodate most tenants in the Camarillo airspace, right? Or on the different parking areas. What's being considered during this period of time and what's being communicated with the nearer airports? And, well, I guess let's speak to Van Nuys. They don't have much space. I mean, what's going to happen or what's being thought about as far as that 20 days?
Well, certainly we have our Oxnard Airport that acts as a partner and the potential for tenants to find a place there. We also will be providing, we're trying to get the word out now with the receive and file. That construction is going to be planned in the first quarter of 2027. So we're trying, our big plan is really transparency about timing, making sure everyone has an opportunity that if they're not going to be able, if they have to operate within that 20-day period, they'll have that schedule well ahead of time and they can make decisions about whether they move the aircraft or not. And, just like, we talked about some of the increased air traffic over at Oxnard Airport, some of that is because, Van Nuys, even though they have 2 runways, they were closing, one of their runways for reconstruction. It makes it a lot easier if you have more than one.
Yeah, just a concern because there's a lot of based aircraft in Camarillo that, it's pretty busy with that based aircraft. So.
Absolutely.
One question I have regarding the proposal for closing the airport for 20 days straight, right? So that's a total closure of the airport, no takeoffs and landings for 20 consecutive days. With the businesses, the tenants on this airport, including the GA community, there's a fiscal cost to that. Has there been any discussion about subsidizing any of that, or is everybody just going to bite the bullet for that lost revenue? And maybe
Sure. I mean, this is something we talked about with the stakeholders. As Danielle mentioned, not only did we had FBO representation, we have Cohoda. We had, we tried to get a great cross section so that as we're sharing our plans, that we can get the feedback and answer questions. And this certainly came up. Some folks remembered that over at Oxnard, we had abated rent when we had 3 months of a continuous closure. And certainly if we were looking at that type of 3 to 4 months for Camarillo's runway, that would be something that we would be discussing. Instead, we're looking at doing approximately 20 days of continuous closure. And then what we're trying to do is we're working with the FAA and we're looking at the health of our bank accounts to see if we can do a incentive that we do as a sort of a bonus for every day that the contractor can reduce that schedule. And that is how we're going to try to reduce the impact and use money in that way. But it would be 100% out of pocket because the FAA, this is not a reimbursable expense. So it would come directly from the airport enterprise fund. And that's sort of the considerations that we're balancing and that we're working with our tenants. And certainly the stakeholder response was pretty positive. We said, no, we're not planning on abatement. We're not talking 3 months, we're not talking 4 months, but we are looking at this other way to try to make it more attractive for the contractor to finish early.
All right, thank you.
I have a question, because I'm looking at this in my paperwork saying that runway rehabilitation project has a price tag of like almost $38 million. Yeah. First of all, when we did this a few years ago at Oxnard, I think the price tag was 12 million. Is that correct?
So I'm confusing the phases and I apologize because we had 3 of them for the runway, the taxiway connectors, and then taxiway Foxtrot. I think the price tag for taxiway Foxtrot, which is the nearest in time from 2023, was closer to 17 or 18 million, and it was nearly the same amount of real estate. The parallel taxiway is almost about as long as the runway. The difference is costs have continued to climb.
Yeah, we're looking about 4 times that. Okay. And I get there's inflation and everything, but we're talking about going up 4 times. I don't think it's gone up that much in, 5 years, but my other question is.
Well, I think for the 38 million, that was when full reconstruction was.
That's full, including the taxiway connectors and.
No, but that was when the full runway reconstruction. So now that it's changed to rehabilitation, the cost will be lower. And that's the 18 million estimate.
Okay. And there's one more thing. So I'm looking at this figure here. You've got highlighted, the entire runway, and there's a displaced threshold here. It's chevroned off. It looks like approximately 3,000 feet. And it's chevroned, meaning it's unusable for taxi takeoff and landing. So is that going to get rehabilitated as well?
So the rehabilitation is 6,000 linear feet by 150 wide of the 826 usable runway. Then we will do east and west blast pad that would be similar to how Oxnard's runway is set up. So at the west side that you see on the runway, that is a safety zone that we actually will be removing. So the pavement will be removed and it'll be native. We'll use some of the construction and grindings from the project and lay them over. So, but it won't be, we're not rehabilitating any of those areas. And then on this east side, we'll do a blast pad, remove a section so that it's native, and then keep the safety area as, I think we're just planning to do a slurry.
How big of how big of a blast pad you're talking about?
I think they're 300 linear, 300 or 400 by the 150 wide.
Yeah, is that, so is that area gonna get developed?
Yes, that'll be a rehabilitation too.
Well, rehabilitation, but is it gonna be developed for, commercial property, or is it gonna be used specifically for air operations?
Okay.
So it won't be developed for any commercial use. What we're actually doing is currently the pavement so you have the 6,000 foot runway, and then you have 1,000 foot safety area on either side of the runway. Those areas need some attention. And what we're doing is we are removing excess pavement that needs, in some cases on the west end, would need major reconstruction. And there is no requirement to have paved safety area. So we're removing that section. And then on the west end, and only leaving a blast pad. And then we are matching that on the west end with a blast pad. That will take up about 300 to 400 feet of that 1,000 foot safety area. We will remove the remainder of that 1,000 foot safety area, and we will seed it so that it's vegetation as a clearer demarcation, because right now we do have the chevroned area, but we are trying to make sure that, over the years, we have heard on and off concerns that there's direct access to the runway from the west end. No pilot should be going down that way, but by removing a section of the pavement, we are physically making it.
Okay, so how much is that? My question is, how much is that 3,000 feet gonna be removed? It's gonna be eliminated, or?
So we are leaving 2/3 of the pavement. I'm gonna ask if I can just go to the map behind you and point, because I think.
Sure.
So we have 1,000 foot safety area.
Right.
We're going to reconfigure this to be a blast pad. And then we're gonna build and then we are going to remove the section in between up to the 1,000 foot safety area. And then we're leaving this. And most of that is to accommodate, we have a lot of during fire season, Cal Fire.
Yeah, I've seen helicopters parked there before.
And that's.
Okay.
And just a question for two questions for clarity. The reason that we have so much of a displaced threshold is that the runway used to be longer when it was an Air Force base.
Yeah.
Correct. So this has all been marked off because it was, per the Joint Powers Agreement, it's 6,000 feet is the limit. So that's why, just again, kind of for everybody. So if you're wondering why that exists, and it seems rather long, that's kind of the reason why we have such a inordinately long displaced threshold, right? So, which makes sense. So there's no reason to upkeep it because it was all overcome by events. My question is this. So first quarter of 27, are you targeting, and I don't know if you've looked at like operations, like is there a particular time where we have the least amount of operations at the airfield? And we've kind of like looked at that, or the one concern I had, only because I've seen this on the 405, they keep closing the 405 down about once a month, and it tends to rain on that weekend, or at least it has a couple of times. And so it's just one of those things where the first quarter, unfortunately, is a little bit of the rainy season here. And would that if we were to do it then, would that affect the ability after the runway?
So I have to say, just because of the timing of federal grants, which is we can receive a grant anytime from January through September. And often I would say 90% of our grants are received in very late August. So what happens is it puts our construction right in the middle of winter. And so we're always facing the battle of starting construction in the rainy season. We have found some success in starting it more towards the March timeframe in terms of, but you never know. El Nino,
Right, it's,
La
it's a
Nina.
crapshoot, right? You just, you'll plan for the bad and then something will change, yeah.
So we're taking into other considerations because I'm forgetting, Keith will be able to correct me, but we have not only LA 28 for the Olympic Games, but we also have Super Bowl and FIFA.
Because now Super Bowl's coming. So to answer your question, you're correct. The slowest time we have is October through March, or even squeeze that down because of the rainy season, poor weather. That's not when you want to put down asphalt. So we understand there's a problem there, but that's when we have to, federal grants, we've got events, we've got air show. So we're fitting all of those big events into a window of trying to make it all
The
work.
best guesstimate you can do. With Super Bowl being in February of 27, right?
Right.
So then that would be that. So sometime after
We
that.
got air show, we got a
Right,
window, we got
yeah, August.
funding, all of those things kind of go into it. We understand there's no perfect time, but again, we don't want to lay asphalt, weather, then your
That would be
end
the worst
result
case
is
scenario.
horrible.
Yeah. That's what I blame the 405 on.
I do have one more question here. The other thing is the 38 million, it's coming from the infrastructure investment and Jobs Act, right?
It's coming from the Airport Improvement Program.
The AIP.
Yes.
And you got $13 million for that last September.
So we received 14.5 million and we are expecting a companion grant that will be based on bids and funding availability. So we don't know. We are not guaranteed that we will receive full funding for this project. And so we are developing the bid package to have a base bid that will allow us to rehabilitate strictly just the 6,000 feet within the funds that we have received. And then we have bid alternates that will allow us to actually complete the work.
So do you use the AIP funds first and then supplement it with the, how does that work?
Well, it's all funded by AIP.
All of it? Okay.
I mean,
Well, it's saying-
90 to 95% depending on the year. So
Okay.
mostly
This
90.
is saying, IIJA funding, which I think comes out of the general fund.
Which general fund?
What page are you on?
I'm on page.
So this is there's multiple pots of money that so when you're looking at the IIJA dollars, if there's any listed, it's because we are provided some entitlement dollars from that program by the federal government. So we will be applying those dollars because they do expire as well to the project, especially because it's of such a large nature.
Thank you.
Sure.
Question two, for you. Usually on these type of projects, you have a risk mitigation plan. How do you, what's the risk level for the schedule? I mean, of losing the schedule? I mean, are you green, red, yellow, or on that?
So I'm just going to say FAA doesn't require a risk mitigation plan. What they do require is that we actually start the project within a certain time frame. We are pushing the limits on when we are starting that in 2027, but it's a practice that we did with some of our recent Oxnard reconstruction projects, and we are trying to give ourselves the best opportunity to not only have time. So we will work with the contractor on a proposed schedule, and it will need to be compliant with the FAA requirements for getting started. And then we are going to have some of these dates that are sensitive to our tenants in terms of the business that comes in that we're going to work around and sort of push, but we do not have a risk mitigation. Our risk mitigation is actually moving at this point the schedule forward to that first quarter of 2027. Sure.
All right. Yeah, hold on a sec. Are there any other questions from advisory? All right, are there any public comments?
We do, we do not have any public comments, sir, but if you would like to submit a comment card, it should be done before the item, but we can take a quick pause.
It's all good.
Sir,
If you-
we'll
if you-
start when you submit the,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry.
We're bound by certain regulatory requirements. We hear what you're saying, but we have a process. Yeah. Yeah. There was another.
Your 3 minutes
You
will
had some
begin when you
questions
begin
too? You want to
speaking.
fill out a card?
Yeah, just to put this into a context the public can understand.
So, all right, so thank you, John.
No problem. Yeah, just to, I'm
then-
sorry, I'm not more familiar with the protocols, but yeah, just so people watching this on YouTube, whatever, can understand, how many feet of runway are we actually tearing up and replacing? How many linear feet? I mean, 6,000 exactly. Okay. Now, a while back, Keith was nice enough to have a meeting with myself and some other community members. And he had stated that the runway will be built so it will not support aircraft whose weight limit is outside the joint powers agreement. Is that still part of the plan?
So this is
Yes.
this is the opportunity for you to comment and use your 3 minutes and then we can answer after you're done with.
Oh,
your
okay,
minutes.
that's really the only two questions I had.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
great. Thank you. All right, are there any
We
Oh.
do have one more comment.
before one more? Brent Norris?
And your 3 minutes will begin when you begin speaking.
Just want to clarify what I think I heard. You're gonna tear out a section of the runway short of the 26 number to mitigate people taxiing down the abandoned portion. Is that correct? Okay.
So
So we're a training tower, we're a training airport. And that's a huge pillow for those of us who, try to get where we can get to the runway. We have an engine failure on final. That gives us another couple thousand feet that we could use, even though it's not the runway. Anyways, just wondering if anybody thought about that. Thanks.
all right, thank you for your comments. So are there any other questions now with the advisory or would you like to maybe you could clarify for us a little further with those comments, Aaron?
Sure. So I do want to state that currently the runway, based on our markings, is 6,013 feet long. So that is 13 feet in excess of the JPA. And the gentleman is absolutely correct that we have promised that when we do a rehabilitation or reconstruction, that we are going to get that back in line with the JPA and have it be 6,000 feet. I think I apologize, the second question. Right, so the runway will be compliant with the JPA, which it would not be in excess of 115,000 pounds.
Right, thank you. And just for the community to know and a reminder to our board, unfortunately, we've got protocols that we have to follow. So it's hard to have in this kind of forum, a free flow discussion. We're kind of mandated on how the meeting needs to run. So we apologize for that. We're all confined within that boundary, but this is not a forum where we're really capable of having a free flow discussion. So we appreciate your comments and do our best to address what we can. So anything more from the advisory?
And this will all be updated as we go along here, right? We'll have updates every, 6 months or something.
Well, so the next time you would see us on the runway project would be when we're coming before you for a construction contract. So we would be reporting on the bids We are going out to bid in April, expecting to receive open bids in early May. And then we would be working to come before your commission authority to bring the contract forward.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just a follow-up question to the second comment, was, so on that displaced threshold though, but that's still in the I mean, nothing will ever go there. It's just gonna go from being unproved to unimproved.
Correct. I mean,
Right.
we aren't maintaining some of this area
Yeah.
anyway. And part of it is cost. So what we, even though we are removing pavement, it will be compliant with FAA safety requirements for the safety areas. So, I mean, and for example, I mean, if you go over to Oxnard today, the west end is manicured field.
Right, just like we saw earlier.
Correct.
So that'll
the
be kind of the
breeze-
same thing here.
So even if an aircraft had to land, it wouldn't
Right.
be on pavement, but it would be
it'll be
with
clear.
a clear safety area.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And compliments to our new staff member for all that you've handled during this Q&A period. You've got your hands full, it looks like. Thank you, Aaron, for supporting that as well. So this is a receive and file, so there's no action from us. And with that, we'll move to something that we have more close to home with our ad hoc committee and an update from Clark.
Thank you, Chair. So we have met as the ad hoc committee. So just to review, we are for this item, which is the discussion regarding the effectiveness and efficiency of the AAC and our previous tasking, which I have down here. So I just want to make sure that was the previous one was the recommendation by the Department of Airports that an ad hoc committee be established with up to 4 members of the Aviation Advisory Commission to research, investigate, and ultimately make recommendations to the full AAC regarding effectiveness and efficiency improvements to the AAC. Any final recommendations would ultimately be presented to the County Board of Supervisors for full consideration and final action. So we have met on February, so 4 of us on the AAC were tasked at the January meeting, and we've met 3 times, twice in February and then once earlier today. We do need a little bit of guidance from the commission on, so because of this tasking, it seems as though if it was going to go to the supervisors, that it might require that, or that the consideration would be that it would be something that potentially could change our amended bylaws. However, if that is a constraint in terms of this tasking, that there's no appetite or no desire that we would, that is in the realm of the possibility. So again, we just have an issue on the scope. Is the scope of this that there's any and all things are available, or within the existing bylaws, that is our tasking? Because if it's in the existing bylaws, I don't think that it would be something that would have to go to the supervisors, because that's kind of with the bylaws the way they are, that we're not asking for anything to change at that level. But I just wanted to, we need some clarity on that, because we were having discussions on what was the scope of our tasking.
If I recall, I think we were hoping that the ad hoc was going to further define some of that scope, right? Because it was broad and leading to a lot of different discussions amongst this group. So one of the ad hoc's initial meetings was to kind of put some scope to that, and find hopefully some consensus to, move forward with, through that scope identification, looking at solutions or looking at ideas that then could come back to this advisory for further consideration of, where does this go? So have we just not been successful at finding?
Yes, unfortunately, we have not found a way forward on this where, in terms of there's just some different opinions on scope or what's in the art of the possible on what that tasking entails. And so we, at this point, we have nothing to present in terms of,
Is this becoming a technical issue that is being raised by one or many members, or is this a philosophical, you know, maybe obstacle to
I think it's
further discussion?
it's more philosophical, but but if we had to close this issue out now, it would be that there would be no changes
Okay.
to the existing bylaws, and that everything, below that would be merely procedural in terms of what is outside of the scope of the bylaws that wouldn't change. Then it would be, okay, well, if there's different ways that we could potentially do even our packets or issues to discuss or those types of things, that would be, I don't think it would require supervisor approval because it's below that level. So we can continue to we can try one more set of meetings for this. I can give you an update on the next time around, but as at this point, we have, unfortunately, we haven't found a way forward on that where we have agreement on those. And again, a little bit of the scope,
Okay.
because it could have, if it included changes to the bylaws, then it would have to go, and that was something we'd have to recommend here, and then would have to go to the supervisors for their consideration before anything would be of action. But I think we're not at that level. There's no changes to the bylaws that have come forward.
Well, this is at the will of the advisory. I mean, we all agreed to kind of move in this direction. So I guess I'll open it up for everyone to comment as far as maybe providing some input that either can provide a little bit more direction for scope for the group and or questions that may.
I don't think there was anything really to put in the changing the bylaws, but we had some discussions about the commission and what could be other things that could be done to improve the commission. But there was more of a physical, like he says, a physical difference of opinion of what we needed for the commission itself, and it was just not going to, it wasn't going to happen.
So I want to maybe back up a little bit, right? In all of our roles, I don't think we're looking to necessarily use the ad hoc to express the opinions and conclusions within that, but rather raise the questions and the points that then can be brought for the bigger discussion at the advisory, not hash it all out in the ad hoc, but rather provide us some structure so that we can have a discussion amongst ourselves that is fruitful and kind of with purpose rather than fraught with emotion and opinion, so that we
I think maybe one thing, and Clark has done a yeoman's job trying to corral this kettle of fish. I'm mixing my metaphors here, but I think a question would be, I think one of the places there that we weren't clear, there was some view that we're here to do the effectiveness and efficiency of this commission. And let's just talk about things that would make us more effective and efficient. Some of those changes, maybe all of those changes, could fit within the construct of our current governing docs, or they might require a change to the governing docs. So I guess the question I would have is, do you want us to consider a broad range of effective and efficiency, even those that would fit well within our current governing docs? Or do you only want us to look at changes to the governing docs that would make us more effective and efficient?
I think it's both, because I think the question that's raised when we talk about effectiveness and efficiencies goes so far as I think we determined in one of the meetings that the elimination or recommendation of elimination, that's a board of supervisors thing. It's probably not necessarily the absolute direction that we're looking to kind of move in. But we also all agreed, correct me if I'm wrong, those present, was that we don't want to be just a rubber stamp where we sit up here and listen to the reports that then are duplicated the following night and then not feel that we have any effectiveness, right? I think we all agreed that it'd be nice to serve on board or advisory in this case that was effective, right? Or that we had inputs into. So I think both. I think that that might be part of the scoping, right? Well, let's put these two different buckets out there. Let's talk first about this one, things that are within the confines of, the bylaws and, maybe suggestions that we might have for, operational consideration for staff to look at, right? Because we also, in that are looking at staff's efficiencies, right? They're spending a lot of time. Here we are 2 hours into tonight's meeting. They're going to be, doing this again tomorrow night. And then additionally, the director of airports and staff have to support that same thing through the board of supervisors or, be present for that. So I think it's both, Steve.
Let me say again, I don't really worry about that. I figured that there's two different commissions that they made. First of all, it was advisory commission. It wasn't the authority. It was first the advisory commission. And I keep on telling everybody and listening to it, well, who's getting represented here? Well, not the authority. The authority doesn't represent the whole Ventura County.
Yeah, I think we all agree.
So yeah, we agree on that. So my whole opinion
representation.
is, you have to have somebody that is actually for the whole county that's representing, the whole county gets
And
represented.
again, just to clarify, I think we all agreed that the representation on the advisory is with 2 seats from each board of supervisors is well represented.
Right.
that
That
was-
gets represented, right?
Yeah, so that wasn't,
But at looking at it, the authority does not represent that.
we're looking at the advisory.
Yeah, but I want to look at authority because the authority also in their bylaws, they're supposed to be listening to us.
I don't think that actually is.
We're supposed to actually have somebody go be at the next meeting of the authority to explain to them what we have done.
No, I don't think that's, well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's in the bylaws. I think it actually
I think
it
I
makes
read
a
that.
clear cut between the two. But nonetheless, so this is some of the
Some of the arguments.
some of the issues we've been having.
We discussed.
Again, and I just want to, highlight the fact that obviously we're complying with the bylaws as they are agreed and tasked by the supervisors now. And this is only an exercise in what is the art of the possible as we go forward. So we will need another meeting or 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah.
So the I guess it's all gentlemen that are on that ad hoc. Do you believe that by virtue of another meeting, you can, further maybe define the scope or make progress? Because if not, right, then I think we as the remaining group of advisory council need to, make a determination as to, the time being spent on that.
I would hope there could be that. If
Yeah, I mean,
there's no aggravation.
I'll defer to everybody else, but I think a key issue we faced was whether the recommendations were to be focused just on changing documents or whether just a broad base of recommendations. And what I heard you say is both. And I think maybe if we meet with that understanding that let's just throw forth our ideas and consolidate them, some of which may require document changes, some of which may not. I think that would be the path forward, I would see.
And I think it's clear, the other point I want to make is that anything that is within the existing bylaws, if we change something that we wanted to, change the background of this from black to blue, right, that would not be something that would require going to the supervisors.
No.
So I think that in using those 2 bins of recommendations, there are those that would get pushed forward as a recommendation, and then those that are at this level really for the director and for the AAC within how we do things. So I think that those are kind of the 2 different scopes. So we can do that, and it may very well be that there's no consensus on changing bylaws, at which point I think we can close that item because then it would not require anything going to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right? One of the reasons, again, a reminder for the ad hoc was to assist staff, because we are all here to serve, right? Provide, our opinions or inputs on things, at the recommendation then for staff and the airports to do with the authority and the Board of Supervisors accordingly. So if you think that we can be effective with that, I'm asking the four that are on the ad hoc, but the others that may or may not have been here, do you have inputs? I mean, this involves all of us.
I know I'm just a newcomer here, but can you kind of be a little more specific on what exactly the issues are at hand here as far as efficiency?
So tonight's show to the meeting was rare. We generally have 0 people show, and we follow an agenda that is duplicated in the following night with the authority. And as far as our inputs, they don't necessarily have any, I'll say, authority, right? For really stopping something or, starting something, their recommendations type of thing. And so we were just seeing if there are things that are maybe inefficient, right? And it goes so far as to, is there a need for the AAC? I think we addressed that in one of the meetings. And I think, there's a lot of representation here. So does that help?
Yeah, I kind of just my input here is like, you not having any authority. We're not an authority.
Well,
We're an advisory. So people have the authority are the supervisors, and we don't have any teeth. They're the ones with the teeth. And
Well, I think it's all, it's not just advisory, because we actually sometimes, at time, you have messages or you receive something from who you're representing is the supervisor. And they'll call you and say they would like you to say this or that,
We all agree. And one of the things, to Clark's point, that may come out of his ad hoc, and thank you, Clark, for for leading this, because I can see now the challenges. But one of the things that may conclude out of it is absolutely nothing. Right. But
Yep, which is fine, because I think, at some level, like, again, this is all an exercise in trying to make this more efficient and effective. And again, not at the expense of transparency. So that's the other piece too, that we're taking into account, not in the tasking, but something that we take very seriously. So anyway, I will, that's the update. We won't close this out. We'll give it another try here and see what we can do. And we'll break it into those 2 buckets, which are the structural changes that would require going above.
so to me, it sounds like we made progress because we identified that there's 2 buckets to
We've
give
got 2
consideration
buckets.
to, right? Which
did
is
identify
a lot.
that there's 2 buckets.
And that is in the art of the possible, right? Because I think that is the other piece too, is acknowledging that just because they're the bylaws now doesn't mean that they have to, they're called the amended bylaws because they've been amended. And so if there was something about that we decided to recommend a change, which again, we can't without the supervisor's approval because they bottom line the AAC bylaws, that would be one category would be structural to the supervisors. And then there's the other category, which would be internal on how we run business. And I think if we do that, that may help us to get through our impasse on providing some useful recommendations.
Mark, any insights? We missed you last meeting.
I'm not in the subgroup, but to me, if I recall, this is all basically, when we look back on it, is there just redundancy in what we're doing? Because you just read it the next night. I think tonight is a good example. It might be good to talk with the authority as well. Is this helpful? Are we providing a service? Are we just wasting time? Wasting time for staff as well as others that are here because it's repeated? Or is this a valuable thing that we can contribute to? And maybe it is. And I think it'd be helpful to do that, because even tonight with the people coming in, it gives the authority a preview. And maybe that's, if nothing else, it's very helpful in terms of making decisions and recommendations. But to me, it's really is, are we providing a service? Is it helpful? Because no one wants to not contribute. So, can we help? Can we contribute? And if not, we should be willing to say, hey, it's a no service or no help, and let's do something different.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in terms of also taking a look from the community's perspective, right? Not only have they had to spend time coming tonight to present, in order for them to be heard the same, to your point, they have to go tomorrow night and present the same. It's,
And I do want to make one point, and this is important, I think, for all of us, is that this is the only body other than the supervisors where all of the districts in Ventura County are represented. So that is important. And I think that is the value that neither the Oxnard Authority nor the Camarillo Authority provide. So, in that sense of the, hey, we're here. And again, I've talked to many of the people that came tonight and done speeches. And I think that's that's the value. And I think on some level too, especially for some of the supervisors that would not be represented on either of the authority, this is important. This is a good body in order for them to be heard and to influence things at this level before it gets to the Board of Supervisors. So in that sense, I want to highlight that we did not know, nobody in our ad hoc commission is recommending that we seize the AAC, right? That this is no value, because I think it is. I think it again, it goes back to the question of efficiency and effectiveness. And again, even if we were to recommend that this, which we aren't, I mean, that's not something we have the ability to do, and it would have to go to the supervisors. But so I think it's just important to break down the things that we can change on how we do things, and then those that would require actually the supervisors to make changes. So it's a good,
Okay.
that's what I got. So that's our update for now.
Okay.
And I think we can continue and try to provide something a little more substantive at the
Awesome.
next meeting when we have the two buckets.
Perfect. And on a final note on that topic, I'll just say that, maybe part of what we're doing here is raising it to the Board of Supervisors' attention that all the bodies need to be looked at in this channel, right? And that might be a good thing. So if that's what we're here to do, let's see what happens in this next meeting that you guys have. I wish the ad hoc luck, and let's move to any public comments. Sorry.
So there is no public online comments, but just for the record, we are asking to agendize this matter for a future meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the public online comment? Oh,
there
there's
is no
no,
public
okay. I thought you said there was. All right, so moving on, that was a receive and file. So tonight's a night full of receive and file. Let's move to the consent items. The first one that was taken off consent.
Thank you, Chair. And shall I go, since I was the one who asked that to be removed?
So the approval of capital improvement plans, do we first have a presentation on that?
Good evening again. I'll just do a brief overview of how the CIP is put together. And for this item, it requests that the commission recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve the capital improvement plan for Camarillo and Oxnard Airport for federal fiscal years 2026 to 2036, and authorize the Director of Airports or his designee to apply for and accept aviation grants as they become available. So in order to be eligible to apply for FAA and Caltrans grant funding, projects must be identified in an approved CIP. In addition, the grant applications often require the documentation of the Board of approval, so including certified minutes. So for this reason, the Department of Airports brings the CIP forward annually for approval to ensure that we can provide quickly when grant funding opportunities become available. The FAA requires airports to maintain at least a 5-year capital improvement plan, while the Caltrans department, the aeronautics program, requires a 10-year plan submitted every other year. So rather than maintain these separate plans to satisfy each requirement, the department prepares a single consolidated plan that covers the full 10-year planning period that you guys have been given. And because the plan's updated annually, the planning window shifts forward each year, which is why the current CIP covers federal fiscal years from 2026 to 2036.
The projects in the CIP primarily focus on maintaining critical airport infrastructure, such as the runways, taxiways, aprons. You'll also see there's the airport facilities, such as the Oxnard Air Traffic Control Tower. And projects are generally prioritized based on, safety, pavement management needs, regulatory requirements, and most funding eligibility. So inclusion in the CIP does not guarantee funding, as both the FAA and Caltrans prioritize projects on a state and national basis each year. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions or also have Aaron help.
All right, so thank you. Steve?
Yeah, real quick. Thank you so much. I didn't necessarily mean that you had to do the whole thing as you did, but I appreciate it. But my question was on the tower, the Oxnard Tower. That's showing as, I think, this year, 2026. Have we received that 2.6 million? And is that, because I remember earlier discussions, and I believe that was through the Infrastructure Act, or it wasn't part of, it was a separate pot of money. So I'm curious, are we looking good for that money? Is that money in? How do we, any updates on that?
Okay, so we completed two of the grant submittals, so the two grant applications for that project for the 2.6. And that will cover the design and construction. We are working towards the design right now to be able to accept the grant when it becomes available, if it becomes available. And so we're advancing the design right now so that if
So
we
you're
do
doing the
get,
design in anticipation of applying for the grant,
Correct.
should the grant become available?
we've already applied
You've
for
already
them.
applied for
If we get awarded, we need to be ready to basically start.
You're waiting to hear if you've been awarded that.
Correct.
Okay. And then my question, this may be more for Director Freitas, is just concerns about the tower with asbestos and lead paint, fire alarm. I have some concerns. Are we okay with the folks that are there and they, is everything in good shape for the staff? I have some concerns about them working in that environment.
Yeah, and it's a good concern, and I would say it as it's very common for structures built prior to the 1980s, as the tower was, to contain materials like lead-based paint and asbestos. And these materials do not generally pose any health risk unless they're disturbed. So it's currently, operating safely, and the presence of these materials in older buildings is not unusual. And so it doesn't create any hazards to the occupants. And then as we move forward with the project, that's part of why this project is needed, is part of the rehabilitation will include a full hazardous materials survey. And then they'll identify the locations that are needed for abatement, and licensed abatement contractors will remove any of those areas properly before they continue work. But as far as working in the environment currently, it's safe as long as the materials aren't disturbed.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this topic? All right, if there's no questions, any public comment?
Oh, no, there is no online public comments.
Okay, if there's no other comments, we need a motion and a second on this.
So moved, McCamish.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Can we roll call, please?
Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tanhill,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish,
Yes.
Commissioner Tolbert,
Yes.
and Commissioner Warburton.
Yes.
Yeah, and that motion passes unanimously 8-0.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the second one.
Second item, budget appropriations. Any specific questions? I won't go through an overview, but if there's specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Steve,
The lateness of the hour, let me just ask one question, which was if I looked at the prior fiscal year's financials, if I read it correctly, it looked like we saw a fairly material drop in rents and concessions. I think Camarillo was over $1 million off target. They were both about 20% under budget. Is that anything that you anticipate continuing? Did something happen to cause that? I'd appreciate any color you could give as to that.
Yeah, yes, we actually had a fairly large tenant, couple buildings that relocated, so we're working to refill those. The other change was the nice parking of all the new cars from Fort Hueneme that kind of they go in phases, so they need places to park and then they don't. So those are the two changes you'll see there.
That's all I have. Thank you.
And just to add on to the budget, which was actually, I wish some of the community members were here talking about that. You will see in our upcoming next few budget cycles, a significant drop in our reserves. Our reserves are about $16 million right now. All the projects that you heard from staff coming our way, our percentage, which is why we built up those reserves, our share of paying those large, expensive projects for the runway, for the tower, those are millions of dollars, our share. So you'll see a depletion of those reserves that is planned and expected and has been for, quite frankly, 10, 15 years. Right. So as Aaron mentioned, it kind of fluctuates, but AIP, Airport Improvement Program, the grant program from the FAA is typically they fund 90 to 95%. The rest comes from us. A small share comes from Caltrans, Division of Aeronautics, up to $150,000, not much in a large project. The rest comes from us. So that comes out of the airport enterprise.
okay. Any other comments?
Just a quick question, because I think the bottom line is, in general, one of the interesting things that I found about the Ventura County airports is that we don't use any county funds for this as a general rule. Is that still the case? Are we still looking on budget for this year?
So yes, that is, we're on budget. We have reserves. The big picture is we're an enterprise fund. We do not take any county general funds. We've over the years talked about the economic impact between the two airports. It's annually about $300 million. I just got a statistic, which you're here, so I'll share it right now. Talking to the tax assessor, most people don't know that the value of the airplanes based at each of our airports, each airplane owner pays a possessor interest tax, 1% of the value of the airplanes. For Camarillo Airport only, that total assessed value last year was $965 million. What does that translate into? That 1%, $9.6 million is equally shared. A third goes to the city we sit in, Camarillo, the county, Ventura County, and the school district. So each of them got a check. Just that piece of the value of the based airplane, $3.2 million each. And that happens every year. So I mean, there's all those things that go into that economic impact, direct, indirect, and induced for all the jobs. You heard some of the presenters tonight. These businesses create jobs. They do business here. They eat at restaurants here. They're taxed here, all of those things. So.
That's great information. Again, I think as commissioners too, and going out and talking to the community, those are good points for, what the airport does for all the residents of Ventura County.
And as I mentioned, there's all these stakeholders. So it's not just the money side, it's the community concern. I mean, we're balancing all of those as we go through our processes for sure.
Okay, so are there any further questions or comments? If none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
It's just a receive and file, no motion.
Oh, this one's a receive and file. Thank you. My bad. Okay, love that.
And there, for the record, there's no.
Are there any? Thank you. It's getting that hour. All right, so Keith, director's report.
Director's report. I have a couple items here. First is we shared, Jeanette did a great job sending out. The FAA published their strategic plan for transitioning from leaded avgas to unleaded avgas. That is out with their timeline in 2030, end of 2030 to transition out. Next item is, I don't want to, before I forget, I want to acknowledge the two new commissioners, Doug Tauber, appointed by Supervisor Vina Lopez, and Shane Warburton, who is familiar to us, left us for a period of time, came back, appointed by Supervisor Jeff Corral. So I wanted to recognize our two new members. Jumping back to a heads up, we are starting the rent and fee process we've talked about previous meetings. We expect the May timeframe to kind of agendize the rent and fee process. At this point, we're starting with the methodology, and like airports, that's the first point before we even talk about what the rents, comparable rents and things like that would be. That's probably in the 2027 timeframe. But we're starting with the methodology of how we do that, how we compare, are we competitive, those kinds of things. So you'll probably see something along those lines at the next meeting, probably May. We'll be ready for that. Couple Senate bills, state Senate bills, 827. That's going to require likely AAC members to go through fiscal financial training. There'll be an online training component. You'll probably get that from the clerk of the board, some information that you will have to do. Also, Senate Bill 707, upgrades to teleconferencing, remote participation meetings. That's kind of on airport staff to kind of incorporate those changes and consistent and compliant with the Brown Act. And the last is also Senate Bill 707, local agencies required to provide copies of Brown Act. Each of you should have received those. We sent those out on March 3rd. If anybody didn't get that, please let me know, or Denise or Liz know that. And that's all I have for you.
Wonderful. So we're coming to an end here. Then we've got some reports that are filed, correspondence, and then do we have commissioner comments? I'd like to just also welcome back and welcome to new. Appreciate your willingness to serve on this, and tonight marks the longest meeting I've ever been in over the years. So, and the most number of people that we've ever had show up to a meeting. So welcome to that as your first meeting.
Thank you.
I want to also take this time to thank Steve. Steve sent me as chair a set of ideas that he might have, or I should say proposed agenda items. I'll say that for consideration. And rather than just taking a look at these agenda items, and I don't want to belabor it tonight, so we're going to keep it quick, but I want to encourage all of you to please send forward various agenda items or topics that you may have so that we can get on the agenda, and the airport director and I, Keith and I, can discuss those. And when we see like interests, we can put those on the agenda. And just remember, to get those to us in plenty of time so that we can give consideration to the agenda, because it's got to be on the agenda for us to really talk about it. So things like the finances and updates on topics, some of the unleaded things that Keith directed or informed us with, the tower discussion that I think Steve had some questions about, the test range. There's different topics that have come through this advisory that without your input, we do just become a kind of, just following the agenda that the staff has. So please give your input from your interests that you have from your represented communities and your board of supervisors. That's helpful for us to then bring here. Are there any other comments?
Real quick, I want to thank you, Matt. I thought this was a great meeting tonight, and you know, we've talked about effectiveness and efficiency. I thought this was a very effective meeting. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who came. And I just want to make one comment on what was in the packet, which was the ATCT communication. And I just want to do a shout out to Jeanette and everybody who worked so hard, but to the crews in the tower. And I work most closely with the Oxnard crew. This whole fly friendly that we've done, it really, they're kind of the linchpin. If they're on board with it, it happens. If they're not on board, and they've been great, very supportive, and helped us solve the problem we had in Oxnard. And so I just want to compliment them and just reiterate the tower has done an amazing job and staff has done an amazing job working with the tower to get everybody on the same page.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. Before you start talking again, Steve.
All right, all those in favor?
Can you tell me where the restroom is?
I have one more comment and then I promise we'll get out of here.
Okay.
This is a quick one. I just want to point out that the Camarillo noise comment report for January 2026 has 141 complaints, but if you go through the breakdown, 120 of those came from one household, 20 of them came from another, and one came from a third. So that totals up. So for January 2026, the way I'm interpreting that is there's really only 3 complaints. And that's pretty darn good. And with that, I am finished.
Yeah. Unless you're at my phone, receiving the calls on some of those. All right. So all those in favor? All right. Thank you. Have a good night.